Okay, I asked the question, are lawyers legally required to discuss the rules of professional conduct with their clients? Okay, because I was telling somebody that the lawyers are legally required to, and they said they checked the internet said no. It says lawyers are not legally required to conduct a general discussion of the rules of professional conduct with every client. However, they have a strict ethical and legal duty under Rule 1.4 communication to discuss specific rules and limitations when they become relevant to the representation. Specific triggers and discussion. A lawyer must consult with the client regarding rules of professional conduct in the following scenarios. Expected unethical conduct. If a lawyer knows the client expects assistance that will violate the rules or other laws, they must inform the client of these legal limitations. That falls under advisor. Informed consent. That's what I keep telling these people. Informed consent. Lawyers must explain relevant rules whenever a decision requires clients informed consent, such as when navigating a potential conflict of interest. Or like, let's say if you got a lawsuit going and they want you to settle out and you don't want to, they can't make that decision for you. They can only ask you if you want to. But informed consent requires reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision to give informed consent. And that reasonable knowledge would be your lawyer's legal obligations to you, which are described in the rules of professional conduct. So yes, they are legally required to give you informed consent, and that informed consent would require reasonable knowledge to make an informed decision, and that informed decision would be based after discussing their legal obligations to you, the rules of professional conduct. Now, they say only 13 rules, the rules of professional conduct require informed consent, but it's impossible to violate one rule without violating multiple rules. So in every case, not every rule applies to your case, but the rules apply in every case. Okay, can you understand? Not all the rules apply in every case, but all the rules apply to every case. Okay, the rules apply to every case. So, but you'd have to go over the rules of professional conduct to find out. Informed decision. Making an informed decision, they are required to explain matters, including ethical constraints, to the exact reasonable necessary for the client to make informed decisions about the case. So yes, the only way you can do that is if you know the rules of professional conduct, your lawyer's legal obligations to you, as well as the code of judicial conduct, because the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct are legal obligations of all lawyers and judges in a court of law, such as reporting misconduct. Reporting misconduct is mandatory. Mandatory communication duties. When a total overview of the ethics code isn't required, Rule 1.4 mandates that lawyers promptly inform clients of any decision requiring informed consent. Consult with the client about the means to use to reach their objectives. Keep the client reasonably informed about the status of their matter. Comply with the reasonable requests for information from the client. And I discussed that in one of my other videos about litigation. And that would be been trying to overturn some wrongful convictions, and those wrongful convictions are based on ineffective assistance of counsel, prosecutorial misconduct, and judicial misconduct, because there was a failure to expedite litigation. That litigation was sharing the information, the hospital reports, police reports involved in the case, and if those were used, that would have proven fraud, perjury by the plaintiff. So keep client reasonably informed about the status, comply with reasonable requests for information from the client. And it's really that they do that. So yes, it would be prudent. It would be competent. It would be diligent to communicate the rules of professional conduct, the legal obligations of all attorneys and judges to a person in a court of law, to everybody in a court of law. Baseline for attorney ethics in most U.S. jurisdictions establishing the duty to communicate legal and ethical limitations to clients. So thus, that would be discussing the rules of professional conduct with you, review them with you, as well as the code of judicial conduct, a judge's legal requirements to you. Not just the judges, the lawyers, because the lawyers are supposed to be making sure that the judges live up to the code of judicial conduct, as well as the judges making sure the lawyers abide by the rules of professional conduct. It's everybody's duty to make sure all that happens in a court of law. And if it doesn't, that's misconduct. And reporting misconduct is mandatory in both the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct. Failure to report misconduct is misconduct. That's deprivation of rights under the color of law. Everybody gets charged for deprivation of rights under the color of law. And considering the fact that nobody reported all this misconduct, that clearly shows a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. There's one pointing out the other's misdeeds, then they could point the finger back. Everybody can point the finger at each other, but they won't do it because if one points the other one out, everybody goes down. So that's up to you. If you want to report them for violating the rules and the codes, for deprivation of rights, nobody reporting misconduct, since reporting misconduct is mandatory, clearly conspiracy against rights under the color of law, which happens in every court, no matter what court you go into, civil, criminal, child custody, guardianship, conservatorship, no matter what the case. Take the rules and the codes with you. And the only way that's going to happen is if you take them with you to a court of law and review them in the court of law to make sure that everybody plays by the book. This is due process. This is how you get a fair trial. This is how you obtain effective assistance of counsel. All right, people. I'm not wishing you luck. It's not luck you need. You need to read to succeed. Nothing but peace and love for you. May your Creator always be with you, rain many blessings. I wish you nothing but less than a long life and good health. Something I've been deprived of. But I always want that for you. Good night.